Jay Leno always had a reputation for being the nice guy in Hollywood, clean humor, strong family values, and a loyal husband. But for decades, there was one rumor that followed him everywhere, a story that could have ruined his image completely. For years, Leno denied it all, saying there was no truth to it. Now, at 75, as he takes care of his wife who suffers from dementia, he's starting to admit that the rumor wasn't entirely false. He's revealed that in his upcoming memoir, he will share details that will shock everyone in Hollywood. His confession involves someone who meant more to him than anyone ever knew. Behind his kind smile and hard work, Jay Leno was keeping a secret that was worth millions. Jay was born on April 28, 1950, in New Rochelle, New York. His childhood home was full of different sounds. His mother, Catherine, would sing old Scottish lullabies in her heavy accent, and his father, Angelo, would constantly talk about work, fast-talking his way through imaginary insurance deals even at the dinner table. Catherine had come to America alone at age 11, not knowing a word of English, but she promised herself that her children would learn the importance of hard work. Angelo was the same. Once, he drove through 3 different states in one day just to meet his sales goals. Their home was full of noise, laughter, and effort, and young Jay soaked it all in. When Jay was 7, he could already recite his father's entire sales pitch word for word. He even started performing it for the neighborhood kids, using fake insurance charts and sometimes earning a few coins for making them laugh. That's when he realized something powerful: hard work and humor could both bring success. He also decided early on that he would never depend on just one job for money. But school was never easy for him. Teachers thought he was slow because he had trouble reading and mixing up words. What no one knew then was that he had dyslexia. In first grade, he couldn't even manage simple phonics. He had to repeat both 5th and 8th grade, and by high school, most teachers had given up on him. In 1968, a guidance counselor even told him to drop out. Instead of getting upset, Jay made a joke. He imitated the counselor's serious tone, switched the letters of the words around, and made everyone in class laugh. He got detention, but that moment changed everything. It made him realize that even his struggles could be turned into comedy. From that day, he started writing jokes every night. He filled notebooks with ideas and forced himself to read them backward to train his brain. He turned his learning difference into a challenge he could overcome with humor. At 17, he pulled off a school prank that became legend. He snuck into the school announcement booth and made a fake weather report warning teachers about upcoming layoffs. He got suspended for 3 days, but his classmates couldn't stop laughing about it. That's when Jay truly understood that comedy was his strength. At 14, Jay got his first job at Tony's Pizza in Andover, making $1.25 an hour. He wasn't allowed to use his dad's nice Buick, so he drove an old Dodge for pizza deliveries. His boss expected him to make each delivery in under 20 minutes, so Jay came up with a clever trick. He would call the customers pretending to be his own father and ask if Jay had arrived yet. That way, when he reached the house, the customers were already at the door, saving him precious minutes. While driving, he practiced his jokes in the rearview mirror and rated them on a pizza grease-stained clipboard. In February 1966, during a snowstorm, he delivered pizzas to a college party. Instead of just dropping them off, he made an offer: 2 pizzas in exchange for 5 minutes on stage. They agreed. He performed jokes about anchovies, snow, and bathroom keys, and by the end, the crowd was laughing and tipping him generously. He made $22 that night, his first paid comedy gig. His boss wasn't impressed and told him to stop fooling around, but Jay couldn't forget that moment. That night, he realized he wanted to make people laugh for a living. Around the same time, in 1964, Jay entered a talent show at the local YMCA. He wanted to imitate his idol, Rodney Dangerfield. He even covered his face with cold cream to look shiny and sweaty like Rodney did on stage. But when the stage lights hit him, the cream made him look ridiculous, like a clown. The audience thought he was making fun of Rodney, and they started booing loudly. Embarrassed, Jay ran off the stage, accidentally knocking over the microphone and breaking the sound system. He had borrowed $5 from his older brother Patrick to enter the contest, and now he had lost both the competition and the money. But instead of quitting, he went home and played the recording of the audience booing 47 times in a row. He made himself listen to it until it didn't hurt anymore. He promised himself that from then on, he would only perform his own material. He never wanted to copy anyone again. That determination became the foundation of his career. He learned from every failure and turned it into a lesson. The humiliation at the YMCA made him tougher, the school pranks made him funnier, and the late nights writing jokes gave him discipline. He wasn't the smartest student, but he was the hardest working one. Over time, that same work ethic helped him rise from small comedy clubs to national television. He learned to mix charm and quick wit, creating a clean, relatable style that made him one of the most popular late-night hosts in America. People loved him because he seemed genuine, the same hard-working guy who grew up in a modest home, loved cars, and stayed away from scandal. But now, decades later, as he reflects on his life, the truth he's revealing shows that even the nice guy of comedy had his hidden struggles and secrets. His memoir promises to tell stories that Hollywood never heard, not just about fame and success, but about regret, temptation, and what it truly means to stay loyal in a world full of pressure. Jay Leno built his career on being the man everyone could trust, the comedian who never swore, never cheated, and never lost his sense of humor. Yet behind all the laughter was a man who carried guilt and memories he couldn't share, until now. His life, from the little boy who couldn't read well to the multimillionaire host loved across America, proves that even the most perfect smiles can hide complicated truths. And as he opens up in his later years, Jay reminds everyone that honesty, no matter how late it comes, is still the most human punchline of all. In 1969, Jay Leno was accepted into Emerson College in Boston, though the decision wasn't based on grades or test scores. The founder of the school took pity on Jay after learning he had dyslexia and decided to give him a chance. Jay chose to major in speech therapy, but he wasn't exactly a model student. Instead of spending time in class, he spent almost every night performing at a small open mic in a strip mall cafe. Comedy was his real education. On November 12, 1969, Jay got into his first big fight. Another comedian stole one of his jokes about a Scottish French teacher. Furious, Jay stormed the stage and ended up fighting the guy outside. The crowd began chanting, "Read him his vows," as if it were some kind of wild wedding. Campus police arrived but didn't arrest anyone. During the scuffle, Jay chipped a front tooth, which gave him the slightly forward chin that later became part of his signature look. The college threatened to expel him, but Jay convinced them to let him start an official comedy club on campus instead. That same club still exists today, more than 50 years later. After graduating in 1973, Jay packed his bags, took $350 in cash, and drove a rusty old Chevy all the way to Los Angeles. He stayed on a friend's couch, another comedian named Tim Merson, and took whatever gigs he could get. Most nights, he performed for free around 2 a.m. in half-empty clubs. Mitzi Shore, the owner of the Comedy Store, didn't like his clean-cut style and banned him for 6 months. To survive, Jay did shows anywhere that would pay, even in pizza parlors and a topless lounge inside the Aladdin Casino in Las Vegas, earning just $40 a night. Eventually, in 1974, David Letterman helped him get back into the Comedy Store, but Jay never forgot how Mitzi treated him. Years later, when he became famous, he refused to perform there out of principle. Jay got his big break on March 2, 1975, when he was invited to perform on The Tonight Show. It was the moment every young comic dreamed of. He was promised 5 minutes of stage time, but right before he went on, Johnny Carson told the band to play longer, cutting Jay's set to 3 minutes. Jay was furious and confronted Carson backstage. Carson warned him not to push his luck. Although the producers eventually calmed things down, Jay's segment was shelved and didn't air until May, a long 9-week wait that felt like forever for a hungry 24-year-old comedian. Between 1973 and 1976, Jay dated 5 different women, all of them born on the same day, September 5. He used to joke that it felt like dating the same person wearing 5 different wigs. A gossip columnist even nicknamed him Mr. Virgo Vortex. Jay became so obsessed with birthdays that he started asking almost everyone he met when they were born. It became a weird habit that got him a reputation for being a little eccentric. Then, on April 30th, 1976, Jay met the woman who would change his life forever, Mavis Nicholson. It happened at the Comedy Store in Los Angeles. Jay was rushing to the bathroom and accidentally bumped into her near a broken urinal. They started talking and hit it off right away. Later that night, after the show, he saw her again near the ladies' room and decided to ask for her birthday. When she said, September 5th, Jay burst out laughing. It was just too perfect. That same night, they went out for chili. Their first real date didn't happen until August that year because Jay was constantly on the road. He was performing over 300 shows a year and driving more than 52,000 miles. Despite his exhausting schedule, they managed to stay in touch and build a relationship. In 1978, Jay landed a small acting role in the film American Hot Wax, where he played a car driver named Mookie. He was paid $5,000 for 10 weeks of work. It wasn't much, but it felt like a huge opportunity. Unfortunately, the movie flopped at the box office, earning only $2.2 million against a $6 million budget. One of the producers told him bluntly, "Stick to stand-up." Around the same time, a pay strike hit the Comedy Store, leaving many comedians without income. Jay considered quitting comedy altogether. He thought about selling his beloved 1955 Buick and becoming a full-time mechanic. But everything changed on October 6, 1979. Jay performed for a crowd of 2,800 people in Denver, his biggest audience yet. The show sold out, and the laughter and applause reignited his passion. That night, he decided he would never give up on comedy again, no matter how tough it got. A year later, on November 3, 1980, Jay and Mavis got married. They deliberately chose that date because it was the same day his parents had married. The ceremony was small and intimate, held at a friend's house. There was no fancy reception or Hollywood glamour, just a few close friends and family members. Jay and Mavis's relationship had begun 4 years earlier, back in January 1976. It wasn't love at first sight. Mavis wasn't even looking for romance. She had gone to the comedy club that night hoping to meet interesting people for her writing career. But Jay's charm and sense of humor caught her attention. She later said she thought he was gorgeous, even though Jay often made fun of his own looks. Their marriage wasn't built on passion or wild romance, but on loyalty, respect, and shared values. Jay always said the key to their relationship was simple: we're there for each other, no matter what. They decided early on not to have children and focused instead on their careers and supporting each other's dreams. That foundation of loyalty became even more important decades later when Mavis was diagnosed with dementia in 2024. Jay, who had always kept a busy life filled with work and cars, slowed everything down to care for her. He became her full-time caregiver, showing the same commitment and steadiness that had defined his career for so long. Looking back, Jay's journey from a struggling dyslexic student to a legendary comedian was never smooth or easy. He faced rejection, failure, and countless late nights performing for free. But his persistence and humor never faded. Every chipped tooth, every missed class, every sleepless night behind the wheel of his old Chevy built the man who would one day host The Tonight Show for 2 decades. Jay Leno's story isn't just about fame or comedy, it's about hard work, humility, and never letting life's rough moments define you. Through every setback, he kept smiling, kept working, and kept believing that laughter could get him through anything. And even now, as he stands by Mavis's side through her illness, that same determination, the one that started in a small strip mall cafe back in 1969, still shines through. Jay Leno's career truly began to skyrocket in 1986 when he became the regular guest host for The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. Every time Carson took a night off, Jay filled in. He was funny, dependable, and good with audiences. But behind that friendly smile, Jay was carefully planning his future. While pretending not to be interested in taking Carson's job, he was secretly meeting with NBC executives and making sure he'd be next in line when Carson retired. It was a bold move, and it worked. On May 25, 1992, Jay Leno officially took over The Tonight Show. It was a huge moment in TV history, but also one filled with controversy. Most people in Hollywood thought David Letterman would be the one to inherit Carson's seat. Even Johnny Carson himself preferred Letterman. During his final years hosting the show, Carson often sent Letterman his own and used jokes to help with Late Night with David Letterman. But NBC shocked everyone by giving the job to Leno instead. Carson didn't hide his disappointment. During his last episodes, he never mentioned Jay Leno at all. And later, Carson even appeared on Letterman's CBS show twice, which many took as a public sign of which side he was on. Letterman, who had been loyal to NBC for years, felt completely betrayed. In June 1993, he left NBC and launched The Late Show with David Letterman on CBS. Inside the entertainment world, the whole situation became known as a loyalty test. Many people believed Leno had turned against those who had helped him rise. Overnight, his image changed from being the nice, hard-working comedian to someone who would do whatever it took to stay on top, even if it meant stepping on others. Leno's first night as host didn't go well either. His debut episode aired on May 25, 1992, and it was a disaster. Many celebrities who adored Johnny Carson refused to appear out of loyalty to him. Leno spent hours on the phone, calling agents and begging them to send guests, but most said no. Ratings dropped fast, and NBC executives started to panic. Behind the scenes, things were even messier. Leno's longtime manager, Helen Kushnick, who had helped guide his career for 17 years, started secretly blacklisting celebrities who went on rival talk shows, especially the Arsenio Hall show. This created chaos in Hollywood. Agents and publicists complained that she was rude, demanding, and trying to control too much. In September 1992, just 4 months after Leno became host, NBC executives showed up at his house with an ultimatum: fire Helen Kushnick or lose the show. They told him bluntly that she was destroying his reputation and career. It was one of the hardest choices of his life, but Jay knew they were right. He fired her. It ended both their professional and personal relationship, but it saved his job. Even after that rough beginning, Jay struggled to win over critics. Many said he wasn't as clever or original as Letterman. His show needed something to stand out, and in 1993, he found it. That year, the O.J. Simpson murder trial took over American media, and Jay made it his main source of comedy. Night after night, he joked about the case, turning even the most serious courtroom updates into punchlines. He ran skits like the Dancing Idos, where people dressed up as Judge Lance Ito and danced around the stage. He even turned the trial into a parody using Gilligan's Island music. While other late-night hosts, including David Letterman, avoided making fun of the case out of respect for its seriousness, Jay went full speed ahead. Some viewers thought he crossed the line, turning a tragedy into cheap laughs. Critics accused him of making comedy cruel. But audiences couldn't get enough. Ratings shot up, and NBC was thrilled. The O.J. jokes made Leno the king of late-night television, but they also left him feeling uneasy. Years later, he admitted that it wasn't something he was proud of. He knew he had turned something dark into entertainment. Then, in July 1995, something unexpected happened that changed everything again. British actor Hugh Grant had just been arrested in Los Angeles for being with a sex worker named Divine Brown. The scandal was everywhere, and many thought Hugh would cancel all his public appearances. But surprisingly, he kept his booking on The Tonight Show. On July 10, he walked out alone, no PR people, no excuses. The audience was silent with curiosity. Jay looked at him and asked one simple question: "What the hell were you thinking?" The question caught everyone off guard. It wasn't scripted or sugar-coated. Hugh Grant didn't try to dodge it either. He admitted on national television that he had made a terrible mistake. The moment felt real, honest, human, and raw. The episode brought in massive ratings, one of the highest in late-night history. Later, Jay told his wife, Mavis, that he felt uncomfortable using someone's humiliation for laughs, but he couldn't deny that it worked. That interview helped rebuild his public image. People started to see him as more than just the guy who took Carson's job. They saw a host who could handle tough, real moments with humor and sincerity. By then, Jay had already made one of the hardest personal and professional decisions of his life, firing Helen Kushnick. It had happened back in 1992, just a few months after he took over The Tonight Show. Helen had been with him for nearly 2 decades, managing every part of his career, booking shows, negotiating deals, and standing up to anyone who doubted him. Many people credited her for helping him rise to fame. But once she started banning guests and fighting with NBC staff, things spun out of control. Firing her was painful, but it proved Jay was willing to take charge of his own future. The combination of that decision, his persistence, and the Hugh Grant interview marked a turning point in Jay Leno's career. He went from being the controversial replacement for Carson to the #1 late-night host in America. He learned that success didn't always come from being the funniest or the smartest. Sometimes it came from surviving, adapting, and knowing when to stay silent or when to ask the hard questions. By the mid-1990s, Jay Leno had done exactly what everyone once said he couldn't. He had replaced a legend, survived the backlash, and built his own legacy on The Tonight Show. But those early years, filled with betrayal, fear, and uneasy laughter, would forever shape how the world saw him. Beneath the polished jokes and perfect timing was a man who had fought tooth and nail for every minute in front of the camera, a man who knew that fame came with a price, and he was willing to pay it. NBC forced Jay Leno to make a hard decision when they discovered his manager, Helen Kushnick, was secretly blacklisting celebrities who appeared on rival shows. They told him to either fire her or lose The Tonight Show. He chose to let her go, and soon after, Helen sued him. The legal battle turned nasty and exposed how far Leno would go to protect his career. Still, his gamble paid off. By 1999, The Tonight Show with Jay Leno was attracting around 5 million viewers every night, consistently beating David Letterman in ratings. The firing proved that Leno would do whatever it took to stay on top, even if it meant turning on the people who once helped him. In 2004, NBC made another big announcement that shocked late-night fans. They said that Conan O'Brien would take over The Tonight Show in 2009. It sounded like a peaceful, long-term plan for a smooth transition. But secretly, Leno was planning something very different. While pretending to support Conan publicly, he started negotiating with NBC for his own new show that would air at 10 p.m., right before Conan's show. That meant he would still dominate the network and keep many of the same viewers who might have watched Conan. When this news came out, it stunned the entire television world. Many believed Leno had betrayed Conan the same way he once betrayed David Letterman. It broke an unspoken rule in Hollywood, that when you leave, you let the next person have their turn. When Jay Leno said goodbye on May 29, 2009, everyone thought it was his true farewell. He even cried on camera and said he was the luckiest guy in the world. But just 4 months later, in September 2009, he returned with The Jay Leno Show. Fans felt tricked. What seemed like a heartfelt goodbye was just another setup. His first night back drew over 18 million viewers, but many critics accused him of faking his emotions just to gain sympathy. They said he used the audience's trust to boost his image before taking his old job back. The situation grew worse in January 2010 when private NBC emails were leaked to the media. They revealed that NBC executives were planning to move Leno's show back to 11:35 p.m. and push Conan's show to 12:05 a.m. That meant Conan would technically still host The Tonight Show, but it would air after midnight, a major insult in television terms. The leaked messages also showed Leno's team making fun of Conan, calling him unfunny and out of his depth. NBC executive Jeff Zucker warned Conan that if he didn't agree to the schedule change, he would be iced for 2 years, meaning he wouldn't be allowed to appear on any other network. This led to Conan's famous People of Earth letter, where he announced he wouldn't accept the change. He said it wasn't fair to the legacy of The Tonight Show and directly blamed Leno for the mess. Conan told his staff that he had worked too hard to have the show moved to a later slot. "I had a shitty lead-in," he said, referring to Leno's week 10 p.m. show, which had failed to draw viewers. NBC ended up paying Conan millions of dollars to leave quietly, but the damage was done. Fans took sides, and the comedy world split in two, those who supported Conan and those who defended Leno. Amid all the drama, some strange personal details about Leno's life surfaced. In a 2014 interview, he revealed that all 5 women he had ever lived with, including his wife, Mavis, shared the same birthday, September 5th. He even said he could sense people with that birthday and claimed that the first thing he asked Mavis when they met was her birth date. The odd coincidence became a running joke on talk shows, but it also made people wonder if Leno's need for control went far beyond his career and into his personal life as well. Back in 2006, another controversy surrounded Leno when he took a book publisher named Judith Brown to court for using his jokes without permission. He said he was protecting the art of comedy and defending his intellectual property. The case was settled in 2008, but during the trial, several comedians accused Leno of being guilty of the same thing, taking other people's jokes and using them on TV. This opened up a larger discussion about how common joke stealing was in the entertainment industry. Leno's lawsuit, which cost around $1 million, ended up making him look hypocritical to some. They said he wasn't protecting comedy, just protecting his own ego. Even Conan O'Brien would later face a similar lawsuit in 2015, which he quietly settled 4 years later in 2019. After all the chaos, Jay Leno officially returned to The Tonight Show in March 2010. But things weren't the same anymore. Viewers had grown tired of the behind-the-scenes drama, and the ratings began to slip. By July 2010, his audience had fallen from over 5 million viewers to about 4.4 million. His once youthful crowd had aged, too. The average viewer was now 56 years old, more than 10 years older than Conan's audience. In the key 18 to 49 age group, which advertisers care most about, Leno's numbers dropped sharply. Even though he still managed to stay ahead of Letterman, it was clear that his best days were behind him. The energy that once defined his show was gone. In February 2014, during his final week on The Tonight Show, Leno managed to pull in nearly 5 million viewers again, his best ratings since 2010. But there was a sense that his era had truly ended. He never openly admitted to feeling outdated, but his comedy no longer had the same impact it once did. After leaving late-night television for good, Leno focused completely on his lifelong passion, cars. He launched Jay Leno's Garage, a show that featured his massive collection of vehicles, around 180 cars and 160 motorcycles, all stored in a huge warehouse near the Burbank airport. He showed off everything from rare steam-powered cars to high-end supercars. Fans loved seeing his enthusiasm and deep knowledge about engines, design, and history. There were rumors online about a major fire in his garage in 2012, but there was no real proof of that. However, something truly serious did happen years later. On November 12, 2022, Leno was badly burned while working on one of his vintage steam cars. Gasoline accidentally sprayed on his face and caught fire, causing second- and third-degree burns on about 7% of his body. He spent 10 days in the hospital receiving oxygen therapy and skin grafts. Doctors said he was lucky to be alive. But in typical Jay Leno fashion, he didn't stay down for long. Just 2 weeks after the accident, he was already back on stage performing stand-up comedy. In late November 2022, he appeared at the Comedy and Magic Club in California, the same club where he had performed for decades. He opened the show with a joke about the fire, saying, "We've got 2 shows tonight, regular and extra crispy." The crowd roared with laughter, and the show sold out completely. Even after all his controversies, rivalries, and scandals, that moment showed what had always made Jay Leno stand out, his work ethic. No matter how much criticism he faced, he always came back to what he loved most, making people laugh. People were amazed by how quickly Jay Leno recovered after his accidents. Even during his years hosting The Tonight Show, he never gave up stand-up comedy. Fans loved how he could laugh at himself and turn his pain into funny stories. In 2015, he began a new chapter in his career by joining the TV show Last Man Standing as a recurring character named Joe Leonard, a mechanic. Behind the scenes, Leno and Tim Allen had a fun rivalry, always trying to impress each other by driving cooler vintage cars to the set. Their co-star Nancy Travis said it became a daily competition, and Tim Allen even posted photos of their car battles online. Jay's love for cars wasn't just a hobby, it was a big part of who he was, even when he was working. On November 12, 2022, Jay was in his Burbank garage working on a rare 1907 steam-powered car made by the White Motor Company. While he was lying under the car, he asked a friend to blow air through a clogged fuel line. Suddenly, gasoline sprayed out, and the pilot light ignited it. The flames hit Jay's face before he could move away. He suffered third-degree burns on his face and second-degree burns on his hands and chest, covering about 7% of his body. Doctors had to use skin grafts, including tissue from donors, to help him heal. Jay spent 10 days in the hospital getting oxygen therapy every day at the Grossman Burn Center. Only days after being released, he walked on stage again and told the crowd, "We got 2 shows tonight, regular and extra crispy." Everyone laughed, but his wounds were still fresh and painful. Just 2 months later, on January 17, 2023, another serious accident happened. Jay was riding his 1940 Indian motorcycle near his garage when he noticed a gas leak. As he tried to turn back, he cut through a parking lot to save time, but there was a nearly invisible wire stretched across the lot. It hit him in the neck like a clothesline, throwing him off the bike. He broke his collarbone, cracked 2 ribs, and fractured both kneecaps. At 72 years old, he had to undergo shoulder surgery and pause his comedy shows for recovery. Still, Jay found humor in the pain, saying, "A 72-year-old man riding an 83-year-old motorcycle. What could go wrong?" Then, on November 15, 2024, another accident struck. Jay was in Pittsburgh preparing for a comedy show. Before it started, he decided to walk to a nearby restaurant, about 1.5 miles away. Thinking he could save time, he tried taking a shortcut down a hill that didn't look too steep. Halfway down, he slipped on some loose rocks and fell nearly 60 feet. The fall broke his wrist, ripped off a fingernail, and left his face badly bruised. His eye was swollen shut, so he wore an eye patch. But even after all that, he still performed his show that same night. Later, he joked, "The great thing about getting older is you don't learn from your mistakes, you just keep doing the same stupid thing." After so many accidents, people started to wonder if Jay was pushing himself too far or chasing danger on purpose. His garage was full of more than 180 cars and 160 motorcycles, many of them extremely old and difficult to drive. He once admitted that working on these machines made him feel alive. Each time he recovered from an injury, he went right back to his garage. After the fire in 2022, he was back working on cars within weeks. After the motorcycle crash in 2023, he still didn't slow down. Even after falling down the hill in 2024, he got up and walked on stage again. People close to him started to worry that Jay's constant drive and love for risk might be dangerous, but he brushed it off with humor. These accidents started to affect his work schedule too. After the fire, he had to cancel a big event in Las Vegas due to what was called a serious medical emergency. The motorcycle accident forced him to pause his comedy shows again. When he fell in Pittsburgh, it happened right before another show, but he still performed that night. His team often had to rearrange his tour schedule around his injuries. Jay always tried to act like everything was fine, but his friends knew he was pushing his body beyond its limits. His determination to keep performing, even while hurt, was both inspiring and worrying at the same time. There's another side of Jay's life that many people don't know about, his relationship with his wife, Mavis. The couple never had children because Mavis never wanted to be a mother. She said that when she was just 7 or 8 years old, she told her mom she would never get married or have kids because she believed that's how women became trapped. But everything changed when she met Jay in January 1976 at the Comedy Store, where he was performing. She was in the audience that night, and they hit it off immediately. Mavis told Jay right away that she didn't want children, and he respected her decision completely. Jay once said, "My wife and I have been married for 32 years. No kids, but we have a cat. Mavis was an extraordinary woman. In 1999, she helped lead a major campaign against the Taliban as part of the Feminist Majority Foundation. She and Jay donated $100,000 to support Afghan women and successfully pressured a major oil company to cancel an $8 billion pipeline project in Afghanistan. She gave speeches in Congress, worked with celebrities, and became a target because of her activism. The campaign was called Stop Gender Apartheid in Afghanistan. Mavis was fearless and determined, and Jay often said she was the real hero in their marriage. Still, their relationship wasn't always easy. Jay was obsessed with work. During his peak years at The Tonight Show, when he was making up to $25 million per year, he spent nearly all his time focused on comedy. He even hid in NBC closets to eavesdrop on private meetings about who might replace him one day. NPR once described his focus as almost pathological. His intense dedication made him successful, but it also kept him away from home for long stretches of time. In April 2024, things took a heartbreaking turn. Jay went to court to request legal control over Mavis's finances because she had been diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease. She had been showing signs of memory loss for years, but the diagnosis confirmed it. The court documents revealed that Mavis often didn't recognize Jay anymore. She sometimes forgot her own birthday and even talked about her parents as if they were still alive. The judge granted Jay full conservatorship, saying he was taking excellent care of her. Their lawyer said Mavis was in the best hands possible. Jay later spoke about how difficult this has been for him. He said he still loves spending time with Mavis and that he cooks dinner for her, watches TV with her, and plays memory games to help keep her sharp. But privately, he admitted it breaks his heart. He once said he cried after feeding her dinner because it reminded him of how much she had changed. He helps her with everything, from walking to eating, and stays by her side all day. Even when it's exhausting, he feels proud that he's the one caring for her. Jay also revealed a strange coincidence: every woman he has ever lived with, including Mavis, was born on September 5th. He said he didn't plan it, it just happened. When he first asked Mavis her birthday and she said September 5th, he laughed and wouldn't explain why. Later, astrology fans discovered that Jay's moon sign is in Virgo at 13 degrees, the same position as women born on that day. They called it a cosmic match, saying maybe it wasn't just a coincidence. In April 2025, Jay spoke publicly about his longtime rival, David Letterman. He said he would like to meet Dave again and clear the air after all these years. He shared a story about when Letterman had a heart attack in 2000. NBC told Jay not to mention it on air, but when he stayed silent, newspapers attacked him with headlines like, "The only person who didn't wish Dave well was Leno." Jay said the criticism still hurts him. He even once drove to Letterman's house in Malibu to make peace, but it turned into one of the most awkward days of his life. Now at 75, Jay is writing a memoir that promises to reveal new secrets about his life. He said the book will include surprises and even admitted that the old rumor about him having an affair in the 1980s was partially true. He didn't share details, but hinted that there's more to the story than people know. The memoir is expected to be released at the end of 2025, near his 75th birthday. Major publishers are already competing for the rights, and insiders believe it could become one of the most shocking celebrity books in years.